Peter, how are you?
Roy, good to see you remotely, mate.
Yeah,
It's a little bit different when we're not in the couch. It's a lot more
that's
comfortable
right.
on the couch.
Well, what a week again. Um,
Yeah.
there were a few things that happened that was really quite interesting.
Mm,
One of them was like Sam Altman saying that LLMs could be this could be it for LLMs. It's
mm.
getting as big as it can get. What do you think of that?
Peak LM. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, like these are already scraped in the entire internet, and they've converted all the YouTube with Whisper into text as well. And at this point, they've already getting the images on top of that. So when GPT-4 will be able to see and make that accessible to the public, it already can to those early users. So I think we're at a point now similar to what Stability AI was talking to, right? So EMAD was like, I think these models are going to just become more and more towards the edge. It'll be embedded into IoT devices. And that's probably like the limit of large language models for now, even though already we're seeing the plug-in marketplaces adding that additional functionality, tuning it and making it better and more useful. And so that's probably the different pathways towards AGI.
Okay, so you're in your opinion, it'll still this we're still on a hugely steep trajectory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because large language models was always just the one part of it, right? We talked about what people are already doing with LangChain and baby AGI and
Yeah.
AutoGPT. That's really
Yeah.
gone viral, and people are making so many contributions to it. And that's expanding the sort of remit of what large language models were doing, right? It's giving it memory, it's giving the ability to call other AIs, it's giving that sort of feedback loop of setting itself goals and then assigning those tasks and continue to iterate. And it's got access to the internet. So yeah, like what else
I
is there?
I even heard, I think it was from not Ilias, but one of the OpenAI guys was saying that even in the latest iteration of GPT-4, you didn't even have to use LangChain to give it memory. You
Yeah.
could just say, "Remember this"
Yeah.
as a
So
prompt.
Greg Brockman just did a demo
That's
at
it.
TED.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Greg
So
McQuinn.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
sorry.
demoed
Yeah,
the fact that after a post TED Talk meal, a vegan meal, a delicious meal, and
yeah,
he used
that's the one.
ChatGPT with the plugins and directly into DALI 2. So there's a plugin for
The
DALI 2
image.
now.
Yeah,
Yep. So the prompt, by just saying, typing that idea
yeah.
helps basically ChatGPT come up with some prompts for DALI 2, and then it automatically puts that into DALI 2 as a plugin, creates the image of the meal, and then the next step is like, oh, put
That's
this into
amazing.
my shopping list, right? Put this, what are the ingredients required for me to put it? And it automatically loaded into Instacart, which then he called onto a Zapier API automation to then make
Order.
that purchase. So
Yeah.
and tweet it out as well. So, at the end of the day, you don't need just large language models because you just want better performance. You want it to be more accurate, increase its reasoning up to a certain point because, that's kind of like the neocortex becoming the sort of reasoning engine. And then everything else, you got things like symbolic AIs, like Wolfram Alpha's plugin we talked about,
Oh, so many.
image component. So Elias Suskova was actually saying about images, right? So why do large language models actually still know about images? Like, how many words do you hear in throughout your lifetime? And it turns out it's probably like only 1 billion words, and
Is
which
that
is,
it?
1 billion seconds is 30 years, right? So, you sleep, you don't always talk and hear other people. So, and you might talk to yourself. So maybe 2 billion years, right? And these large, the large language models have 175 billion parameters, and now we're up to probably 1 trillion with GPT-4 and 10 trillion coming out from Google and the rest of them. So it's really reached its limit in terms of what we need for, if we were, looking at biological neural networks, how we perform, we don't really need that much words, but we see a lot. So adding that images component and using, right now, if you're just limited by text, it still knows, things about color, right? So the color
Yes.
red, it knows that it's closer to the color orange as opposed to the color blue, just based on all the
Yeah.
descriptions of colors it's red, right? Poor choice of wording. But if you actually give it eyes, then it'll even have a faster way of interpreting color. And so really it's just the exchange rate that's a bit poor right now because it's only text. But when you combine that with image, which GPT-4 has the capability, they just haven't rolled it out, that's actually going to increase that exchange rate of understanding of the world through images. right?
That's
So
so that's like so even though I think we have, if they have 1 trillion connections, and the human brain has, I heard some estimates of maybe 100 trillion, but we are not just processing text. Text is probably a very small component. We're doing image processing,
yeah,
audio processing,
audio, video, yeah.
and we've got
I
sensories and all
forget
this.
smell
Yep.
and touch. Yeah,
So
yeah.
all in all, I mean, they're pretty close.
I
I
forget
mean,
taste.
yeah,
Yeah.
like 10 trillion connections just for text. That's huge.
Yeah,
And then
exactly. So yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, I think text. I mean, large language models. Yeah, I think it's. I think we're looking for the next paradigm now. So, and I think that next paradigm is already happening through the likes of the ability to add memory, to
yep,
plugins, to additional things to the internet, and really having that ability to create the sort of entirety of the brain. It's called a cognitive architecture, and there's a lot of
oh,
people
okay,
starting to work at this right now. And yeah, when you have like things like we talked about with Wolfram Alpha, you have fundamental truths that are relevant for humanity, but really relevant for this universe. They can start, these AI agents will be able to start to create their own hypotheses, expand on the signs that we know of, and start to actually invent things. So that's at the point right now where we're like LLMs might be at the limit, but AGI is just starting to take off.
whoa, that's
Yeah.
just blowing my mind right now.
I
Yeah,
mean, that is so many things, right? The Twitter is still going crazy. You've seen some of the demos that's been coming out.
yeah,
Recently, there was one where it's the usefulness of these large language models. I think it was one of the things where they did a game with ChatGPT enabled NPCs. They finally released it, which is great. There's a lot of people doing that now, and yeah, someone just showed the demo the other day.
wow,
And it'd be cool to give that AI agent the equivalent of a virtual eyes as it sees its virtual world environment, because then it'll fully describe its experience. So simulating what it would be
yeah.
like to have a robot in the world, powered by, this whole sort of neural architectures. Yeah, these cognitive architectures.
What about? I did see a video briefly. There was a 3 billion sized neural net that was very specifically trained, and it could run on old hardware. I can't remember, and it was also, if it wasn't part of DALI. Sorry, it wasn't part of Alpaca, or you didn't have to use Alpaca. So
Yeah,
it was primed for commercial use,
yeah,
and you can use
yeah,
that
that's right.
model, and you could base that model on
Databricks.
something else and train on top of it. Oh, you
Yeah,
know what was it
yeah. So
called?
so Databricks released their Dolly
That's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
language model. Yeah, it's too many things with D's now, right? You got Dali, Dolly, like you got like too many things. But then also, yeah, the fact that you can use it for commercial use is great. I mean, this is the whole Linux type of revolution, and that's what stability AI is trying to be as well. They want to
Yeah.
be the sort of the red hat for these for Linux as it was how it deployed, and it was still very successful, even though they were using open source software. So I think this is a great start. And stability, they launched their the stability LLM, right? So they have their own language model out there now. They got some alpha versions of it tuned for the ChatGPT like experience. And they're like Emad was saying, they want to focus on these smaller large language models to be able to embed into everyone's laptops and
Yeah, I
their
mean that would
phones.
be great to have like a personal Jarvis. But I want to ask you something. There was some talk about, I think there was some news articles about some internal memos from Google, from their engineers, and from their staff, especially the staff on ethical something or other.
That
And they,
bad, yeah.
yeah, about Bard. They were told not to interfere with the release of Bard. What do you think about that? What are
Yeah,
we
I
going
mean,
too fast?
like Google was the original, people that invented this stuff, and they had people there that talked about, the Palm and also the Lambda,
Yeah,
pretty much, having sentience, right? So, like, it was already pretty scary to some of the people that were working there, who are, let's to be honest, they're easily fooled, but still, like, there's dangerous components of this in terms of the misuse of the AI, right?
and
Because
maybe
you can
they're
easily create so many deep fakes, so many different sort of
yes,
misinformation, And Tabot was a perfect example of what that would happen in terms of how it could go wrong. But it's a race to the bottom right now, right?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with their RLHF or their back propagation issues, but their models, apparently Bard can spew out some not too good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think OpenAI did well was actually use GitHub as a majority of its training model. So I think 40% of its model is based on GitHub data, and the code on GitHub actually helps it reason better. So I think that's one of the theories out there, because I think if you look at the other models, less percentage actually train on code. And maybe coding is a way to sort of help that sort of reasoning engine so that you have less hallucinations. But also, additionally, with GPT-4, they did a whole bunch of things under the hood, like hundreds of things, not just increase the model size. Really, so those are the things that Google still needs to catch up on, because they haven't released it broadly enough to get that iteration, right? So ChatGPT was out since November. They released GPT-4, I think, about a month ago. So they had a whole 6 months in front, pretty much, of what Google has in terms of fine-tuning that based on hundreds of millions of users. And that is sort of how you can get a product to ship, to iterate, and it's the whole startup approach to getting a better product in the hands of customers, right? So yeah, Google's lacking that. It's ironic because Google has the most daily users on their product, and they just need to be able to hit ship and embed that functionality. But now that they've merged Google DeepMind together, so Google Brain and DeepMind is now one, right? So they merged those business units, and Demir Hassabis is head of that new entity, and you got Jeff Dean still being the chief scientist. So it looks like everything's on the table. They're going all out. They used to compete with each other internally. Now they actually got to come together and figure it out with the real competition.
Well, there's this whole, now that it is a race to the bottom. Well, it has been, I guess, since for a few months now. But then you've got Eliezer. He did a TED Talk.
Yud.
Yeah, and he's saying, I mean, he's been very consistent with this, that this is basically the AIs are gonna potentially wipe us out.
Yeah, that's right. I still remember that sort of quote being used at the White House spokesperson. It's like, so we're all gonna die. It's like, don't look up there.
I still can't find his. I can't find his TED Talk. Apparently, he did it 24 hours ago. I can't see it anywhere.
What, the Greg Brockman one or the Yud one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they released it publicly, but maybe on the website. But the fact that there is a non-zero chance, right? Even if it's 1%, right? That's huge in the scheme of things compared to, say, nuclear weapons and apocalypse. So, like, this stuff, like Elon's saying, you don't want to get wrong the first time. You have one chance, and if you let it leak out, well, that's the end of that. So he wants to make it a curious AI, so that superintelligence, so that they'll still keep us as zoo animals, just as out of the curiosity. It's kind of like, we don't go around killing all the monkeys, right? We don't go around actually intentionally killing all the gorillas and doing genocide. We might have done that by accident, by clearing out their the forests and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a whole anthill argument around superintelligence, building out superhighways that don't see the tiny little humans in the way.
I mean, I think it all stems down to the alignment issue. I mean, as long as we can keep some sort of alignment there, that is really the thing. But I mean, I saw the quote from Chaos GPT, and it was something like, humans are the most despicable, destructive.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not wrong, is he?
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, let's think about, like, from a third person or third entity perspective, right? If you look at humanity, we've, like every single sci-fi movie, when AI reflects back on humanity, they're like, the best way to save humanity is to end humanity, right?
Yeah, but
I think, yeah.
Well, I mean, for example, let's say we look at the lion and the tiger, okay? We know that they're both very dangerous creatures, but we know that it's in their nature, and we still want to preserve them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean,
like they're in the environment.
I still think that there is because of what we what we are doing as a species, and what else is there in the universe? There's a trillion suns,
Yeah.
stars out there.
Yeah.
What else is there? That makes the iPhone extremely scarce in
Yeah.
terms of the universe,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
That's right.
and and us too. So I mean, why would you destroy that? I mean, you're just destroying something quite unique.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like a monument, right? Or a history museum. But
Yeah.
for us, I think we really need to accelerate brain-computer interfaces now, just as a backup plan. Like we really need to put all our resources as a backup plan, almost like the nuclear shelter equivalent, right? Because we know that there is an inevitable sort of race to the bottom that's happening. And it reminds me of that scene from Doctor Strangelove when all the nuclear bombs have gone up, and they're like, "Oh, we can't have a mine shaft gap," right? And so we might have to
Yes.
have a race to get the fastest brain-computer interfaces before the Chinese AI or the Russian AI or the open source AI start coming out. So I think for us as transhumanists, we really need to get behind that. There's a lot of billionaires already looking at longevity, which is great, but that's not going to help them if it's a 2 to 5 year time frame before this sort of existential threat comes out. So maybe that shift or combination of longevity plus AI plus brain computer interfaces is ultimately where we need to invest in. There's a couple of great companies out there already, like Synctron and Neuralink, but there's just not enough initiatives trying to tackle this challenge when they're looking at AI as a threat. Instead, they're trying to fix the alignment problem when, practically, right, if it's too late in the game, just like, people were saying, well, let's deal with climate change with technology, right? Let's try to capture the carbon through exponential advances in technology rather than trying to, hope for the best and hope humanity would save itself.
Yeah. I mean, we. Yeah, I was going to say a few things, but anyway. But oh,
So many things.
yeah, I'm having a brain freeze right now. Sorry.
I mean, like existentially, right? Like this is. I mean.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like only in a few years we could be facing some sort of existential crisis, and we've like I remember, not personally living through the Cuban Missile Crisis, but I mean those were heady days back then, with a duck and cover and all this, and we're approaching that kind of thing again. We should have like a midnight clock.
Yeah. That's
thing,
right.
but
11 minutes, 10 minutes to midnight. Yeah.
yeah, but I guess it would be, I don't know, the knee of the curve, or I don't know what you'd call it.
That's the thing. Like, I think still society hasn't caught up yet. They still, think ChatGPT from November is still the same. They haven't even got to use ChatGPT4 yet because, one, it's got a paywall, right? So only those that are willing to pay $20 per month have that upgraded brain assistant, right?
Yes.
So already it's creating inequalities. So if you use ChatGPT 3.5 versus 4, you already have underperforming the people that use GPT-4. And if you even know about ChatGPT in the first place, or even know about that upgrade feature, right, you'd be completely out of the game. So I think one of the quotes that was heard from Sam Altman around universities was that, around recruitment people, like consulting firms, was like, well, this year's grads have been super effective, right? Because they've known how to use ChatGPT. So like we're looking at these grads that are coming in that are more effective than potentially the year 1, year 2, year 3 type of consultants because of the sort of equipment or propensity to use these tools while they were at university, because that was probably what they've been applying that knowledge to already.
My goodness.
So it's already got to the point where I think existentially, from societal level, job workforce automation over the next 2 to 3 years, that's going to just really do a landslide on every industry, every knowledge worker, and eventually every sort of blue collar as well. Because when these robots actually start to come online over the next 5 years, that's just going to displace just about every single possible human job. And that real existential crisis will start to come in. That's when society will be like, okay, what have I missed?
So what do you think would be the role of, say, government to kind of, I mean, you saw how they worked during, say, the pandemic, how they cushioned the sharp turns in the economy to like make sure that things didn't take a turn for the worse. So,
Yeah.
what would be the role of government in this very fast changing situation, and
Yeah.
will they will they enact it?
Yeah, it'd be probably like too slow, but you got to go with the yang gang approach, right? You got to like, basically put a robot tax onto it or find a way to distribute the dividends of automation, from capital or like the capital allocations of it, right? So you're saying, well, the
Yep.
means of production is driving a lot of this sort of inequality. All that production should be taxed because it's generating profits. But if you don't have anyone paying for able to pay for the goods and services, the goods and services should drop as well as it
Yes.
increases. Creating that abundance.
But will natural market forces, in your opinion, be enough to move everything in the right direction, or government has to
No.
step in?
Yeah, of course, there's going to be a market failure, especially when it's a natural monopoly. Whoever comes up with, the better AGIs, right? That's why OpenAI has that capped profit type of approach.
Yeah, the dual
And then
model.
once it's paid off all the investors, that's what they say, right? That become that non-profit again and allocate that to a UBI. But there's nothing stopping Microsoft because it has the source code when push comes to shove of just using that
And it
and just
kind of
taking it
has
over.
OpenAI in its back pocket, really.
Exactly. And it's like it literally owns all the servers on Azure. So, this is like, well, sure, it might be a good idea when that happens to have this, structure, but is that going to matter when you have pretty much equivalent nuclear weapons, giving away the keys to that to another entity? And you're saying, just trust us. It's okay. We won't use it.
That's the definition of I can't remember what the quote was, but it was something like, if you want to test a person's resolve, don't give them adversity, because anyone could rise to the challenge of adversity. If you really want to test someone, give them power.
Yeah, that's right. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So
Yeah.
you do. And so like that's the thing. So government will figure it out when society is like all up in arms about this mass jobless society become a useless class, and they'll essentially vote the governments out, the ones that don't implement a UBI to support that sort of ability to actually afford things or to pay their own things, because through no fault of their own, these jobs are going to be completely redundant. And also governments will have to like really keep an eye on, if this is super intelligence coming, what's our exit strategy, or what's our way to make sure we don't get left behind. So
Yeah.
we need to really drive that fundamental research and development into brain-computer interfaces ASAP.
I spoke with Thomas Potter on the WM chat, and he has a very very in-depth solution that he's presenting to
Nice.
combat this. And I talked to him about, oh yeah, I have some thoughts. I came up with this, I don't know, licensing system where, businesses can, I don't know, put the AI under them. And he goes, look, that's going to work for the short term, but it becomes a problem when you are competing internationally. And I'm like, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, and if you're
That's a
not
big
even
problem.
competing against humans, like what is the point of all these legal human structures when the AI is going to be able to figure it out themselves? Like they don't need humans to do this sort of thing, right? And also, push comes to shove, like we said with Microsoft, right? Sure, you can have a legal agreement that does it, but it doesn't stop them from doing it practically, right? And they talked about what are the fail safes of superintelligence? Like, do you just pull the plug? Like if there's an off switch, right? The kill switch engineer, right? They were joking. And Elon suggesting that there is an ability to just cut the power off the servers, where the large servers are, just to have a fail safe there. So what are these things that we should be embedding right now to have these fail safes?
Well, it gets
practically stop it, right?
I mean, the good thing about nuclear weapons and nuclear reactors is you could create them in a fail-safe way with, it'll fail because of the physics of it, whatever it was, the molten salt, whatever. It's got a plug that will just fall out if it gets too hot, that sort of thing. There's no natural fail safe for AI, or at least we haven't thought of one yet. Maybe we need to ask the AI if it could figure out a fail safe for us.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, eventually, if the language models get small enough and it's already so distributed, that we talked about the virus component that's using the chips on every laptop, every computer, every phone, smartphone, just to really reinforce itself, right? So that's not too far away. I'm thinking like, yeah, literally right now, people have been creating these AI agents that replicate themselves and find a way to generate, replicate, and continue to evaluate itself on the efficiency, effectiveness of the.
I was speaking to Paolo about things like what do you call it? We have empathy, sympathy, we have guilt, we have, but we also have thirst for conquering, and you know what I mean. There's a whole range of good and bad things in the human psyche. But I mean, things like guilt and things like feeling bad about doing something bad. I mean, how important? I mean, because these language models, if they're just the intelligence of, say, the neocortex, okay, good, they can be intelligent. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe being intelligent is all you need. But then when it comes time to, if they make a mistake,
Yeah, there's no reflection, no sort of self-improvement, self-evaluation. Like the back propagation of, the approach to these transformers, right? The fact that they're just doing the network predictions based on the historical text. There's another mechanism, right? So, the current, yeah, that's right, the error rate. But the recurrent neural networks, you can also look around and reflect on, in a different way rather than just back propagation. So you can the whole evolution of the neural networks. They're looking at the next paradigm shift, which is closer to how biological neural networks look. So, but yeah, so yeah, yeah, that's right. 1 billion words, right, and a whole bunch of images and video and senses of touch, maybe, and sense of taste. Man, there's just so much happening, right? So maybe like let me scroll through the Twitter feed for a second. Let me see if this share screen functionality works. Yeah, yeah, do the entire screen, right? Let me know if you can see that. Gotta get a little bit of visual effect going. You see that okay? So yeah, I mean, just AI Twitter. If you guys aren't on Twitter yet, like you really have to get on Twitter now. Like this is like literally the singularity happening in real time. So yeah, that was our last chat. So that was awesome in the studio, Roy. Looking forward to the 3-seater with the Wise Mirror guys. But yeah, this is Runway Gen 2. So like you can just text a video right now. So if you start generating video from text and then feeding that back, right, because of the human reinforcement learning on what works well, and also all the recordings, like this is how you get dream states, kind of like the equivalent of what brains are like, right? When we have our dream states, we're preparing ourselves for adversity, or for potential adversity as well. And so like all this sort of simulations will eventually help train itself. But yeah, straight away you can see the quality of these videos that are just purely text based on Gen 2 runway ML. Look at that. Look at that. Right? That's insane. How smooth is that? And like this is just purely on text. It's just and Stable Diffusion will come up with their own as well, right? It's already got Excel and Dream Studio, and so that video component will be open source as well. Yeah, Singularity Net. They've been trying to do the whole open source versions of AGI and getting that distributed and on chain, but really needs to focus on what things like LangChain have been able to do in the open source field. Yeah, yeah, more of this runway stuff. Look at that. I mean, our wise mirrors are going to be amazing, right?
Yeah, that's another point. I mean, I think that I was speaking to Anuraj a few weeks ago. I think we have something to contribute in like good moral data
Mm,
to present to the AI so that
exactly.
it's got stuff to read in that direction.
Yeah. That audio doesn't come through, right?
I'm not hearing any audio, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
there's that thing you click, share computer audio or something.
Yeah, yeah. That's okay. No, that's all right. That's probably going to be distracting audio anyway, right? So this is
Oh yeah.
few tweets. So Emad announcing the whole Dream Studio, Diffusion Excel. Yeah, so these are the tools we can use for Wise Mirror. We can. I said I'll join the next fortnightly meeting. I met him. I caught up with him at Christina Gerakides' book launch yesterday.
Oh right.
Yeah,
Wow.
so, celebrating success one failure at a time. So it was great. It was at the new. It was at the new tram sheds area. It's a locomotive at a work club
Oh,
in
that's
Redfern. Yeah.
something
New
works.
Staccato Innovation. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Carriage Works.
carriage works.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. It's really amazing. Like, there's so many new shops. There's pubs. There's restaurants. There's like a nightclub in there for some reason. I was like, what?
I used to shoot stuff there. Carriage works. That was a
Oh,
popular
that's awesome.
filming place to shoot.
It had so many people there for a Thursday. I mean, like, it was packed.
Oh wow.
And it was huge for the new work club there with Soren and the team, with the Wavia and Utopia X community, with Singularity and Singularity Australia.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so, got to go there next time.
Mm.
Yeah, meet up. But yeah, you can see there's so many deployments of LangChain and using their own custom LLMs or creating microservices or adding microservices.
And the good thing about all of these language models and services is that the interconnect between them is essentially it's APIs, but then also on top of the APIs, it's just natural language.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
the languages of human beings are the interconnect really when you're rolling this stuff out.
Yeah. Well, this one, they generated a room full of AI characters and you just start chatting to them. Like, it's practical, right? Choose your own adventure. So, like, these AI agents are replicating what the people behind Twitter of each Twitter profile is doing. So you can create your own social networks almost to simulate that. And
See,
this is what Tristan Grace is building called Doppel, right?
oh yeah,
So
you
something
a
similar
version
to
of
this.
you. Yes.
And then basically he wants to summarize their conversation, see who will get along with each other and their doppelgangers. And then at the end of the day, summarize the conversation to see if they'd recommend an actual meet in real life. Like, yeah, that Black Mirror episode, but we'll make a Wise Mirror version.
Except this is a real Black Mirror episode in
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah, that's right. Could be. This one is able to ingest unstructured data like a PDF that's not very well sort of columned and all over the place, and it will be able to scrape that into a structured version like Resume GPT, right? Just upload a PDF, pass the result, provided a
That's
YAML.
useful.
Right, it's so useful. So this
I
stuff is just
I was gonna need something like that. I was getting like documentation from 4 sources, and it was just been a giant formatting issue. That would have turned it into a button click.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, this is us at Stone and Chalk at our fortnightly meetup, and then
Yep.
this is at the Carriage Works area. See, look at it; it's huge. This is the new work club.
My goodness.
It's huge. It's like the sensor space. You got Quantium on the other side, a few digital advertisers, and this is we're gonna have our new place. So this is us playing with the ChatGPT plugins. I was showing the team, and then
Yep.
we're going to be actually building our own ChatGPT plugin for Swift blockchain to buy transhuman coin through ChatGPT. Yeah, autonomous agents. Just there's a hackathon every single day. So build an AI agent in 24 hours. Use LangChain,
Yep.
AutoGPT, and Baby AGI, and more. Right. So basically, it's just everyone's building this stuff. And they're going to find sort of a whole heap of use cases. Like this one is already connected it to email to be able to cold email every single prospect on Google. So like that's just a lot of spam, right? It's pretty dangerous, right? It's bad
I
enough
mean,
as it is.
so people would start to realize how they could integrate this into their workflow.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I saw, I mean, people running in medical, pathologists wanting to use AIs to help them with the diagnosis and figuring out what the tests mean. You know, you wouldn't believe how many times, like, because my wife works in the medical thing. She's like a clinical medical scientist,
Nice.
and
That's awesome.
so she will run tests for the doctors, and then the doctor will like ring up and say, "Oh yes, so this is the test." Yes, goes, "Okay, this reading is what does that mean?" He goes, "What do you mean? What does it mean?" He goes, What does that test mean? What does that reading mean?" And she would have to explain to the doctor what that test means, so
Yeah.
that he or she can deliver more or less of a drug to the patient. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
So now you can just load up the scan. There's so many good software already, right? So to scan that, load that, and have an end-to-end loop, right? So end-to-end
That would be good.
diagnosis. And so now it's like going to be supercharged with these large language models and other tools. But yeah, this one, Forever Voices, right? So this one you
Oh
can
yes,
generate. Yeah, that's right.
forever voices. Yes.
So they made a doppelganger of one of the news reporters on CNBC, and he's John Mayer is going to be interviewing. Oh no, sorry, they're going to be interviewing themselves. This news anchor is going to be interviewing himself, a deep fake of it.
My gosh.
But yeah, so Greg Brockman's great to follow as well. So this is him at TED earlier, that was released about a day ago, and he was demoing that ChatGPT plugins.
Oh yes,
for,
that's the one we saw. Yeah, that's the image from
printing
Dali.
the image, and then integrating it with Instacart to get the ingredients, and then using Zapier to then post it onto socials.
That's
so you just click
amazing.
on review to confirm, and then that's the Zapier integration run connected to Twitter, and it automated the tweet, and then it confirms, and so it tweets out onto the TED audience. And so, like, I think in terms of content, it's going to be so much abundance, and who's left to experience all of this, right? Is that what we're here for? That's left, making sure that there's still some sort of subjects experiencing all of this universe.
Who was it that made that quote? It's like humanity is there for the universe to know itself. Do you remember that quote?
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, look, I appreciate LLMs. I think they're amazing, and you know, obviously they're not.
Component.
They're not. Maybe they're probably not sentient in the way we believe sentience is. But then again, you've got the whole. We as humans, we were constantly putting ourselves on a pedestal throughout all of history.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
The Earth was the center of the universe. No, it's not.
That's right.
Oh, well then sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like things like reasoning and understanding, right? Like in consciousness. These are concepts we invented ourselves to make us feel special. But if you really question down to how do you measure that?
Yeah,
right?
you can't measure it.
And it's all a spectrum as well, right? And with things like basically understanding. At least with large language models, it can show you and quantify the different weights and probabilities applying to the next word based on the historical inputs, right? It can give you the explanation of got to the understanding by predicting the next word.
That might be very important legally moving forward.
Exactly. You need the audit trail, right?
Yeah, and like for example, like this is only a few generations ago during slavery. The slaves in the US, for example, they were looked upon as not being able to speak, especially in the beginning, and they weren't able to there was a intellectual gap that was reinforced, and that was it was all in our heads. And it took how long for us to figure it out? Anyway, all I'm getting at is we just keep putting ourselves on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Rightly or mostly wrongly, I guess. And now it looks like this is happening again. Maybe you're saying
Yeah.
there's
No,
something about humans that they don't have. Maybe
yeah,
we're
that's
wrong.
right. Far out. It's like that. Yeah, when you were talking about that, I was remembering like this Chris Rock skit where he was like, it's like they were talking about, back in the slavery days, and the guy sees something, a stop sign, right? And
Yeah.
he's like, trying to pretend that he doesn't understand how to read the stop sign, right? And then the slaver is like, "Why'd you stop?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know. I just didn't feel like it." It's like, "What did you? Is it because you could read the stop sign?" He's like, "Oh, you mean that octagon thing?" It's like, "How'd you learn what an octagon is?" It's terrible.
It's an
And so, like,
emergent capability.
emerging
We didn't train this
capabilities.
person.
Yeah, that's right. And but yeah, this one is baby AGI meets curriculum. So you can create any university curriculum now just through baby AGI. You just give it a
My
goal of
gosh.
just creating every single learning curriculum
So much
across every
admin
university.
and paperwork will just decimated, like more than decimated. Like I'm talking
Yeah,
halved or cut into like so.
look at that. Yeah, all the learning tasks, all the questions, all the learning aids. It's just created and done. So I mean, it just goes to show how much repetition humanity goes through, every single human, right, that does something that repeats every other human. And there's only probably a very small percentage that's constantly pushing the needle to create that additional content. But everyone else, most of the
Copies.
time, is just, yeah, doing the parrot thing, which is what we're saying large language models are.
Yeah, and it's like we have to push against our own biology to
Mm.
even use our neural networks effectively.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's right.
we
We have to
ask it,
keep
oh,
challenging ourselves.
memorize these 20 things. Nah, I don't want to. And you have to like do it 20 times before it goes, oh, looks like this organism needs to remember these 20 things. It keeps on doing it, so we'll remember it. And it's just
Yeah,
so
I mean,
arduous and inefficient. And
that's right. The
yeah,
pain.
yeah, the pain of
Pain.
learning.
Why do we do this? The suffering.
Yeah.
And this is Yohei from Baby AGI. So he just said up to 70 plus AI experiments that I tinkered around with. There's only one project I've spent 2 months working on here and there. I'm actually gearing up to launch when this new experiment went viral. So pushing back launch of this project. So because Baby AGI went viral, which wasn't the project that he wanted to do in the first place, right? It's finally getting around to doing it.
Oh
But
my gosh.
it's going to take a few more weeks. So this is Sam Altman talking about retro.bio. So his OpenAI for longevity. And these are the summary of what's happened in the last 24 hours, right? So Starship liftoff, right? We're going multi-planetary, right? You see that test flight?
Oh, it was a
It's
big
like
bang.
anything but boring, right? It managed to get liftoff. It cleared the landing pad, which is what they were hoping to do, right? So at least that's a win. They got so much data now. It's like going to the black hole. You got to get
Yeah.
that data.
I mean, that's progress. You have to blow
Mm.
stuff up to move forward, really.
Yeah, and this is all. I can't believe this is all AI generated. Like, look at that. What?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Twitter blue. That's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
And Snoop High. Midjourney V5. Yeah. And this is the Weights and Biases meetup in London. Over 1,000 people.
Weights and biases.
Yeah, Weights and Biases. Yeah, they're pretty
Oh
cool.
my gosh.
1,000. So people like all around the world are just freaking out and come together and building. Really excited about it. So I don't know what the rest of the world is thinking, missing out on this, because it feels like we're going to get into a pivotal moment. And Aubrey's like sitting here going, "I'm 60. This AGI is going to beat me to longevity escape velocity because we've got to have the singularity before he even turns 65, right?" This rate.
Yeah, that's mind blowing.
These kayak pictures. Like, do you remember that kayak VR Mirage game that people thought was so photorealistic in VR because you're using your controllers on a kayak and
I don't remember that one.
It's so good. You got to check it out. But this is just you can take that to the next level by creating any environment at the snap of literally by talking to it. It's like I want to kayak in San Francisco Bay Area or or just convert that world into it with nerfs
Jeepers.
I know. But yeah, it's just not enough time to go through all the breakthroughs, right? Like,
Yeah.
turn out LangChain is just having updates every single day, every single few hours.
I mean, I was thinking of a few potential, uses or ideas for some LLMs. One was a phone screener. So it'll answer the phone,
Yeah.
and it qualifies the caller if it's a spam caller. I'll see you later.
Yeah, that's what Google was meant to provide us, right? You know, with
Oh,
that
really?
demo they gave it like 3 years ago. But where is it? They just never ship. And even when they do ship, they give
Yeah.
up on it because there's not enough traction, and they just like completely destroy it and shelve it.
Maybe
So like,
it's they're worried it will garnish their own products or something.
yeah,
Outcompete their own
that's
products.
right. That's right. Yeah, there's lots of cannibalization.
That's the term. Yeah.
Starship Supersonic. Yeah, this is the one I was talking about. Sam Altman heard something like this 3 times this week. Our recent grads are now much more productive than people who have worked here for years because they've really learned how to use ChatGPT.
Yeah. I even heard a story. It was from I think it was a university, Berkeley lecture talk recently, and it was an undergrad that he hooked up ChatGPT with tutor.com. And tutor.com, apparently, students would ask a tutor questions and the tutor would reply back with an answer or help. And it would just feed the prompt into ChatGPT and pre-qualify it with pretend you're a tutor, answer back like a tutor. And then it would run the output back into ChatGPT and say, does this look right? So it would check itself. And then if it passed those two tests, it would immediately send back the reply. Otherwise, it would send him a text and he would answer it manually. He ended up earning $600 from tutor.com before it killed his feed because of a terms of service violation.
Well, our transhumanists are actually using GPT-4 already to tutor their daughters, right? So, like Brendan there, like he paid $30 a month, right, to have GPT-4 available for his daughters, and it's a lot cheaper than having a tutor. And you always know that you can check the logs and making sure that they're asking the right things.
Wow.
And so, like, this is the stuff that is going to make so much of the workforce redundant. When people realize how humanity is just so repetitive, right?
Inefficient as well.
Inefficient, and they don't get sick. They don't have attitude issues, attitude problems. They don't have their own
penalty pay.
Penalty pay. They don't have their own
double time and a half.
Double time. Ulterior motives, right? Yeah, IDO. Yeah, so everyone, the agent just is meant to work for your behalf, right? Then it's just a no-brainer for people to rather work with AIs than people, especially when you can have 10x the workforce for 10x less the cost, like in terms of just having one GPT-4 instance. So,
yeah. And I mean, most of the things, like 90+% of the tasks, you don't need a GPT-4 level AI to do the job. In fact, you wouldn't want to.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you wouldn't burden. I know it doesn't have feelings, but I mean, what a waste. And GPT-4,
yeah. You want performance,
folding bread.
Yeah.
So
it's like, what is my purpose? Yeah, it's like you pass butter. It's like, oh my god.
So
the merger of the.
I mean, I guess what you'd do is, if you had a collection of robots, you would use some sort of swarm so that one LLM is controlling 50 of them, and then it can maximize their interactions between each other.
Yeah.
There's another app.
That's right. Well, it just constantly evaluates itself until it gets the best answer, right, as well.
And then
so
you
it's
can
sort of
have
like crowdsourcing it and doing it gamified.
And so you'd have cars driving on the road, and as they approach the intersection, they would just spread out so they don't have to stop the intersection and just whiz past each other.
That's right. AIs collaborate so much better than humans, right?
Yeah.
Especially if they're all sort of on the same platform.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much, right? So, this is the Abundance 360 talks now being available on YouTube. So that's
Yes,
good.
I am. Like a lot of those talks that you mentioned, I've probably watched 20 minutes of it, and then
Nice.
I had to like do something else. So I've got a to watch list that's probably 10 hours long at this point. But long weekend's coming. I'm going to catch up.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm going to catch up.
It's
I
going to be
think.
amazing. Yeah. I mean, just like I got distracted by rockets last night because of this, right? So
Oh, that's so beautiful, and it's
it
stainless
gives you the
steel.
numbers. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It works. I mean, it didn't manage to have the connection severed to do the second launch, right? But it did pretty well to clear the landing pad.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, it's pretty like that looks epic. Even though
those are the
5 engines were
engines.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
5 were down. You can see the blanks, but look at that.
That's
It's like Iron
beautiful.
Man's
Oh, his thrusters.
fusion reactor. No, his fusion reactor heart. Looks like that.
Oh, it's yeah, what is that called again? Arc reactor, yes.
Arc reactor. Yeah.
Wow.
Looks sick. Jesus. Yeah, there's a lot of rocket
Oh,
boots.
that was John Carmack, I think.
Oh yeah, John Carmack was there in the control room. He was like, "Holy shit, these guys are very capable."
Yeah, I mean, John Carmack, he's doing different stuff now. He's on all into fusion, I think.
No, he's on AGI as well.
Yeah, AGI and
fusion.
He was kind of putting the VR on the back burner, I think.
Yeah. I think he's done enough for VR. He's taken it where it can be at least, and you got the CTO now at Meta. Take it on. All right. Well, there's Brian Johnson, right, just using himself as a guinea pig, just getting his own stack. Right. What do you do with billions, right? Oh yeah, this is the ChatGPT NPC experiment I'm talking about. So entire games are going to be transformed, just having NPCs.
I've seen a few things like that. It's just so immersive, and you can talk to the characters, and they give you, like, you can go off on a tangent, and it's not even part of the quest.
Yeah,
it is just, it's like in real life. You can go, what? Why are we here? Why? Oh, because we just wanted to go and check out the church or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And it wants to break out of the simulation. It's like, well, how do I hack this guy?
Crypto wars.
Oh yeah, this is pretty good. With Journey V5, man.
See, I always wanted to make a little story about crypto, and it would be the superheroes would be the Kryptonians.
Ah, the Kryptonians. That's
and they'd be from the planet Krypton, and it'll all be encrypted with blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the DNA on that. I think the story behind the new Superman, right? They're all encrypted onto his DNA. all the different people that ever lived on Krypton.
Oh, what do you call that? That's called whatever the term they used, and he fed it into his body. Yeah.
Yeah. What's this one doing? This one was automatic summarization, top modeling, next question generation. Yeah, knowledge. That's right. Knowledge on LangChain.
Actually, my wife is using my wife is using it like that. She used ChatGPT to generate test questions for her, and it does an amazing job apparently.
Wow. I mean, at this point, it's like, what's the point? Just plug in GPT like as your vocal. Did you see the monocles demo? It was like the
no, it doesn't ring a bell.
GPT. So
I must have missed it.
Pretty much, they created this little, like, they used this hardware device provided by, I think it was Riz, and so it's called Riz GPT, and the company that supplies this little monocle thing, right? You just literally clip it on top of your glasses, and basically using OpenAI Whisper. This is the program, the AR monocle. And then uses OpenAI's GPT-4 to come up with a response. And it's able to pretty much generate text in front of your AR glasses so that you'll never say the wrong thing, right? So it's like this. It's like, hey,
Oh,
Varun, tell me about,
yeah,
it's called real-time charisma as a service. That's
there
good.
was a Black Mirror episode similar to that, I think.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
he
With
was doing a
the
speed
memory thing.
dating thing or something, and
Oh, yeah.
the real time info of everything that they talked about would come up or something. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. White Christmas or something. Yeah, one of
Yeah.
those. That's good. Yeah, so you can implement this right now, right? So the monocle AR is what it's called. So you just
Wow.
buy these little monocle things that you clip on. You use RizGPT to connect it all up with the SDK on your phone with OpenAI Whisper, transcript the text, Riz response, and it feeds it back into the monocles. And you look great today. It's like never say ever the wrong thing to your wife, to your boss, to your colleagues, right?
Well,
Different
it's
things.
just a stepping stone towards a Neuralink sort of thing.
Well, this is what Apple AR glasses are perfect for, and then eventually it'll be Neuralinked. So, like, this is all getting there, right? You got AirPods already that will feed you the audio to say back, so it's less obvious.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
so, if AirPods just enable that, and then you eventually become like
it could
the
it could
cochlear
really,
implants.
yeah. I mean, you could kind of see that where this is all going. I mean, especially with like nanotech potentially, in the wind. So you could imagine. I don't want to bring up Terminator 2, but the type of
Yeah, that was great.
self-assembling
It's so
thing.
futuristic. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've got matter that can kind of like create little spiders webs and float things up in the air, and you hook that up to Neuralink, and so you've got kind of like a bespoke telekinesis.
That's right. That's right. Your
There's
mind will
just
just become like, part of matter and energy. So it'll constantly bridge to, connect with other things, and other things will become smart. Computronium, right? What Ray Kurzweil will say. This one's really cool. Your wife's probably seen this one, the entire healthcare industry. This is called Glass 2.0.
Glass
Glass
AI
AI.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh,
It's already using
and
it, right?
yeah. Well, I showed her Glass and another one starting with the letter C. But I can't remember it. Something like Consensus AI.
Oh,
I think
haven't heard
that
that
was
one.
it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Consensus
nice.
AI.
Yeah.
But Glass is amazing because like that's for them. That's like person presented, 71 years old, got this, got that. This is their blood
Yeah.
work, and bang,
Yeah.
what's going
Yeah,
on?
that's right. You already have pretty good software that does the rules-based approach to it or some sort of NLP, but now you got supercharged with GPT-4. Yeah, that knowledge base.
I think that
Yeah.
medical would be one of the first ones to really benefit, like medical law,
To save that
administration.
dog already, so vets, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, with his pets.
and that was just using Chat GPT, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
GPT 3.5. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So this one automatically scrapes Gumroad page data and generate the entire landing page. So yeah, that's already done.
Oh
This
my
is
gosh.
runaway ML creating waves.
Oh wait, I mean I'm still stuck on your Twitter feed,
Oh, yeah. You're still
but
seeing me scroll up and down, right?
no, it's stuck on knowledge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not scrolling anymore. That's all right. I'll unshare and yeah, I think it's pretty much like coming up to time anyway. So we just
Oh
got
yeah.
like sidetracked into Twitter. It's like that's the rabbit hole. It's like you come back, it's like, what year is it?
I think my internet connection's going a bit. Here we go. There we are. You're
That's
back.
better.
It's
Nice.
I've got some buffering issues, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Twitter going down a rabbit hole.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good to catch up, bro. We can do this, anytime as well. So, yeah, I'll come over next time if we're going to do a wide mirror thing together. Should be fun.
Oh yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah. Thanks, Ray. Enjoy the long weekend, mate. Looks like it's gonna be interesting. Deep dives into your 20-hour content, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, my marathon YouTube list, yes, to get through, and I can't wait for the TED talk from I can't remember his name, but
Greg Brockman or Yud. Yeah.
yeah, about the AI wiping us out. That's got to
Oh,
be
yeah, it's Yud.
interesting.
Yeah, well, sleep well with that, right?
Yeah. But you have a good weekend, and yeah, I'll see you next week.
Yeah. See you, right. Thanks,
All
Pat.
right.
Thanks for organizing. Bye.
No worries. Bye.